What is up, y'all? Welcome back to the Get Ellievated Podcast. I am so excited to bring you guys another amazing episode. You know that on the Get Ellievated Podcast, we talk about how you're going to elevate your life, your business, and we really want to bring you stories from real entrepreneurs so that you know it's very, very possible to make that dream a reality. So I'm so excited to introduce you guys to our guest today. Listen, this company, Mom Juice, is doing amazing things. You've probably heard me talk about them already on Instagram, but I'm so excited for us to be here with the co-founder. So let me introduce you right now. Listen, everything you need to change your life is already within you. You need to believe that it has to work or it has to work. You got this. Scale your business, make more money, create your best life, and let's get elevated. Welcome to the podcast. All right, y'all. So let's come back in here, and I want to introduce you guys to one of the founders of Mom Juice, the beautiful Macie Mincey.
Hi.
So Macie, tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm a mother of four. I know, right? So much in common. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and then I co-founded KT Winery with our flagship brand, Mom Juice. So it's a wild ride. That is my primarily that's primarily the thing that I work on the most.
Yeah.
But I do have a rather large investment portfolio. I've invested over $1 million in women and people of color.
Oh my gosh, like that deserves a round of applause in and of itself. So how did you start that process of investing $1 million into women and people of color in their businesses?
Yeah, I actually didn't have like a financial goal of like, I need to hit $1 million, right? For me, it was really personal. So backstory to even get money to do any of this investing. I started a tech company and I sold it. We went through a small acquisition and I was able to flip a few deals and then have enough money to start making investments. When George Floyd, everything went down, I grew up in a household with a single mother and my brother is half Haitian. We have different dads, but he looks completely different from me. To the community, he is black.
Yeah.
No one knows he's mixed. And then on my other side, I have 3 full Vietnamese siblings.
Wow.
Right. So all of my siblings are none of them look like me. And it's just, they've all battled different racial experiences. Yeah. And I think that even me being half Vietnamese and still, actively promoting myself as a woman of color and making change, I don't receive as much or any, right? Like I'm pretty fearless in the way that I do things and I haven't experienced those things. And so I felt a lot of guilt for them experiencing it. And then I saw something interesting in the market, a lot of blackwashing, right? With companies and people committing to
so much.
Yes. They're committing to these things and they weren't really executing on them. They would commit and then it kind of goes away. No one follows up. And so when I had a financial turn and I was able to start making investments, that became my mission.
That's absolutely incredible. And I love the fact that you utilized, almost what would be a privilege for you, right? In a way to advocate and be an ally for more communities. And I think what you said is so true about the blackwashing. I saw it so much. And I think it's still happening, right?
It is
They
still
make
happening.
These declarations and then when you really follow up,
everyone has a pledge now.
Girl, all these pledges.
Yeah.
But then there isn't really anything behind it. So what are some of the things that those companies you invested in have in common?
What do they have in common? Man, I mean, the only thing that they have in common is that they're either women or people of color.
Yeah.
Other than that, I review all different types of investments. So my portfolio is filled with real estate, franchising, and then startups. And startups can be anything and everything. I do really enjoy the CPG space, which is why I became such a large investor in KT Winery, and then eventually became a business partner and then eventually became an employee, right, as the CSO. So I'd say that's the only real thing that they have in common. And that's how I position my investment portfolio.
So I want to know, I want you to take us back to when you were first starting your tech company.
Yes.
Let's do a little journey in time, because a lot of the entrepreneurs watching are in that beginning phase of their business, right? They're in that dream phase, maybe that first 4 years. So how did you start? But as well, when things got rough, how did you keep going?
It's interesting because as an entrepreneur with a really large goal.
Yeah.
Right. With I'm a huge dreamer. It's not $1 million number. It's a multi-million or $1 billion number always in my head. You're very much out of touch with reality, you know, and you have all of this messy hardship happening around you every single day. Yeah. It's going to be hard for a while. But you really living in that dream and in that vision and picturing yourself there. I remember doing this meditation every single morning during my first company for 2.5 years, where I would walk into a conference room and see my future self, and I would sit down with her and have a conversation. And she would talk to me, and sometimes she was really soft and like, I get it, like this is hard, but look at this shit, look at this office, look at this suit, right? And some days she was like, don't be a bitch. Let's go. You know, like
I love it.
Stop crying kind of thing. It's going to be hard.
Yeah.
And regardless of how large your goal is, the first stages of entrepreneurship are the hardest. I like to say the universe or God, whoever you believe in, really wants to test you the most right before you hit that next level. So your computer will break, your heel will break. I mean, who knows, right? It's all going to break. And then the next day you'll get some large proposal from a client and you're like, oh my God.
I know. No, it's so true. I always tell that to my community. I'm like, whenever it feels like you can't keep going, you're right there.
You're right there.
You're right on that precipice. Oh my goodness. I love that. I love that. And I, you know, tapping into yourself and that meditation is really key because I'm sure you'd agree mindset is probably what really carried you through.
Oh, and it's interesting because now in the phase that I'm in, I'm kind of toying around, or I'm battling an interesting situation where I don't want to be the richest one in the room anymore. And I want to be sitting next to the people that own the private jets, that have been through these larger acquisitions, that have IPO'd companies, right? Because that's where I'm headed next. Yeah. And you have to almost reevaluate and re-secure network and friendships and relationships around you in every phase as well. And so I'm going through another transition.
I love that. So let's talk about networking because I think new entrepreneurs feel scared. They might feel intimidated. They don't know how to have new conversations because they may not have, they feel like they don't have as much to offer to an entrepreneur that's already been doing it.
Yeah.
So what are your tips for networking and building relationships, and how have they helped you along your journey?
Yeah. So I have 2 tips there. One, the first one is everyone loves to talk about themselves. So don't feel like you're going to have a spotlight. All you have to do is walk up to someone, introduce yourself and say, where are you from? What do you do? Right? Very basic. You can get them going and keep the conversation flowing. The second thing is utilizing that network. And I am very good at building relationships. I can walk into a room, I can work an entire room. But do you use that relationship and that network? You know, an example, we just pitched to Target with our winery. I know. And we have to fill out all of these crazy forms. And I'm actually extremely proud of us because my business partner's right next door working on the forms right now. But we made probably 5 or 6 different phone calls to people that we know in the industry that have always said, when, you know, we'll get off our first call and they're like, well, do you ever need any help? And, you know, you never ask for help.
Right.
But people want to see you win for the most part. So call upon those people and ask questions. It could be an email, offer to buy someone coffee, right? Usually if you're around a winning circle, they want to see you and help you win. That
is so, so true. I think it's an energy shift, you know? I think a lot of people are surrounded by who they've grown up with. And, you know, I think it's important for us to realize that sometimes your next level isn't going to come from the people that you knew in your childhood.
Right.
You know, it's going to mean shifting. It's going to mean changing. It's going to mean walking into new rooms and doing new things. So I want to know what it's like, you know, for the entrepreneurs that eventually want to get to a point where maybe they are attracting investors. What are some things that you look for in a company to know that this is a solid choice?
Yeah. So the first thing I evaluate is, what is their exit strategy, right? Is this something that I'm going to get a big win from, or is this something that I'm just going to take ownership distributions from? Do they understand what their own end goal is and where they can take their company? And then also, have they done it before? What's the team around them look like? How scrappy are they? If it's their first time, it's a much larger risk because, like I mentioned earlier, you're going to have very hard days.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure they're not going to give up. I like to see a co-founder. I don't like to see, multiple co-founders. 2 is the perfect match, right? You have someone to bounce off of. You have someone that has an opposite skill set of you. One person's going to have a bad day. The other person will talk them out of it, right? Like,
you need that. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the 2 main things that I look for when I'm evaluating them.
So let's talk about having a co-founder, right?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people, when they start their business, they feel like it's my dream. I'm going to do it by myself.
That's selfish equity. It is. It's selfish equity. And what's interesting is that at the end of the day, would you rather give someone $10 to make $10 million, or would you rather keep $10 to make 100?
Hello?
Because you can't do it all.
Yeah.
Right? So you want to be educated in the equity that you're giving up. You want to be educated in how to find and do a due diligence and a skill set test on a business partner. You know, definitely take the proper steps to make those decisions, but you need a team to do it, to execute properly and with a much larger vision. You need a team, and they need to be bought in, because startups and new companies, one, you don't have a lot of money to pay these people. None. You have 2 cents.
Yes, literally.
And I don't think the person with the proper skills wants your 2 cents. No.
So it's really a buy-in.
It really is a buy-in, and you'll find someone that's equally as bought into your dream as you. It should become one dream, one end goal.
And so I want to touch on this a little bit more. How would someone go about finding a co-founder, right? Is this something that happens naturally? Do you think it's is it a strategic search? Like what was maybe your process?
Oh gosh, it's really interesting. So I actually co-founded my first company with my best friend.
Oh wow.
Which is really hard.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard anyways. And we've said this on multiple podcasts, but you're in a marriage at that point. And so you have to learn how to fight. You have to learn how to communicate. You have to learn how to resolve issues, all the things. But that one was hard because we had to schedule friend time and then,
business time.
And most of the time the business was taking up all the time.
Yes.
My current, I'm in a few different business partnerships, but the one that I'm most heavily involved in with KT Winery is we went on a blind business lunch, and we actually, I know
this is cute.
I know. Some people were like, we just think that you guys would have a reason to work together. And it was back when I had my first company, but and we ended up not having a reason to work together. But after we were acquired, Kristen had built companies for other people, and she came and I did some consulting with her, and she's like, I'm ready to do my own thing. And when it was to the point where her vision was more clear and it was just time to execute, and now we just have to figure out how to execute these next steps. She was time for her to have a business partner, and I threw my name in the hat, and luckily it worked out really well.
And here we are.
I know. So I do think there is some strategy behind it. I do think that a lot of it is if you're putting yourself in the right rooms. Someone will know someone, and don't be afraid to ask. Just say, I have this rec open, or I'm looking for this type of person, right? And if you can get specific and you can almost make it like a job proposal, so you know what skill sets you want your business partner to have or be willing to learn, it'll come.
I really like that. And it really sounds like sometimes things take time, I think, as entrepreneurs, we want to rush, and it feels like I have to have my success today, right now. But there is so much power in just the journey.
Yeah.
And that leads you often to a more successful business, more opportunities, and, more growth. So I want to ask you, what are 3 things you feel like you've really learned on this journey so far in entrepreneurship that have really shaped who you are and the type of businesswoman that you are?
Wow. Okay. 3 things. The first thing is, we get so many compliments as women on our aesthetic.
I know.
Right? Like, oh, the hair, the nails, your outfit, oh, you're looking bomb, all these things. And of course it's great.
Yeah.
But I remember this man giving me a compliment, and he's like, wow, learning about my journey. He's like, you're so courageous. It's like, you're very, it takes courage to do what you're doing. And I think that we don't give ourselves enough credit. and even me, right? So take time as you win. You will be moving so quickly. Write down your wins, and at the end of the week, celebrate them. Yeah. Have a glass of wine. Enjoy yourself, right? Because it's going to get crazy, and you're going to have so many fires that you're putting on a daily basis that it will overshine your wins. Yeah. But definitely celebrating the wins. As we mentioned earlier, don't give up when it gets hard. Yeah. Because I think about the things, in my first company, I cashed out my 401k. Yeah. I left a 6-figure job and became an entrepreneur, sleeping on an air mattress or sharing a bed with my best friend with a flooded kitchen and no electricity. Yeah. And my car almost got repossessed. I mean, I was like, where should I park this car?
I know.
I need to hide it. I know I need to hide this car, right? Because they can't find it. I can't do it yet. Oh my God. All of these things. And I was maybe in that moment a month away from acquisition, a week away from acquisition, from the conversation starting. Yeah. So believe in yourself, believe in your dream. And when it gets hard, know that there's a solution, and all the problems that you have in that moment won't be problems in a year, right? Especially if they're financial. A lot of people, their stress and their everything, and it is stressful. Yeah. I get that. And I'm not discrediting it. And it is going to, it's going to affect the way that you're functioning, but remind yourself at the end of the day that because I am so committed to this dream and the hustle, and I won't stop working, these won't be my problems next year.
Come on.
Those are my 2. What is my 3rd one? I mean, you learn so much.
Yeah, probably resilience. I mean, when I hear you speak, it sounds like you've built a lot of resilience. Mm-hmm. You've continued, tenacity, right? Yes. I feel like I feel a lot of tenacity, and it takes tenacity to build a business and to build multiple businesses, you know? I think entrepreneurship is definitely a sport,
Oh, we are athletes.
Oh my gosh.
People ask me in the gym, what am I training for? And I'm like, life. Yeah. I'm training for life.
At this point, this is what I need it for, because the mental game of it, you have to really show up every single day. There's really no days off. So another thing that I wanted to touch on is this climate now, right? It's 2023. Yeah. Starting businesses, I think now is a lot different than it probably was 5 or 10 years ago. Yeah. So if you were starting over now, what type of business would you start? What do you think are some businesses that those that are listening, they could, start looking at if they don't have one yet?
Businesses that I would start, it really depends on what you want your end goal to be. I really enjoy franchising for someone that wants a business that there's a cookie cutter model. You get to incorporate some stuff. You're going to be in there working live unless the franchise allows you to have general managers to run the show. I do like that concept, and you learn a lot. You have guidance, but they also do have control on you, so you can't get as creative. So I like that for some things. A lot of people are so interested in real estate investments, and that's not the first thing I would start on personally. Yeah. I just think that the market is a little crazy. If you don't have enough capital to make big moves, then you run into things and projects can get halted. But solve a problem. Yes. That's my biggest thing. So if you're looking for something bigger and on your own and creative and like, I'm going to go buck wild with this, what are the problems in your life right now that need solved? And fix those.
That's a business. If you can solve a problem, like you said, you can always have a great business. Yes. Because I think that's what entrepreneurs are. We're essentially just big problem solvers.
We are.
And we decide to stress ourselves out to solve these problems.
Our favorite thing.
It's like an adrenaline rush. But I love that. I want to talk to you just a little bit about wealth as well. Building your business, you have a family. Wealth looks different for everyone, but I want to know, what does wealth look like for you, and what are some goals you have on your wealth building journey?
Yeah, it's finally settling with me that I am rich, right?
I love that. Own it. It's hard to say. I had a moment. I mean, it's still hard for me to be like.
It's very hard. Yeah. No, last night at the live podcast, they said, we want to know who our audience is. Raise your hand if you're 6 figures, and raise your hand. And I'm like, 7 figures. I know. That's me now. Right. And it's been a few years. But I know I'm not wealthy, and I know I'm building that. I'm the risk taker, right? And I have a lot of balance. I am blessed in my relationship with my husband because he has a very stable, well-paying, big boy, boss-ass job.
Yes.
So he is our consistent. He is our healthcare. He is, I know we have money coming in.
Yeah.
But I'm our retirement plan. You know, I'm our risk taker. I'm our big acquisition player.
I like that.
Our gambling token, I would say. And, you know, some of the goals and the dreams and the visions I have, I mean, I'm going to buy my husband an island one day.
Okay.
Just for fun. And, you know, it's definitely giant dreams. I don't think even when those things happen, I'll stop working. That's not in me. But, yeah, I'm here for a much larger acquisition. I want to sell at a much larger ticket. So like say a 700 million or a 2 billion is really the range I want to fall in the next 3 to 5 years.
Oh my goodness. I love that. I mean, what I hear is delusional dreams. You have to have dreams that are so big that they're almost like crazy. They're
I'm
delusional,
crazy.
you know? Yeah. But I think why not? Because the bigger you dream, then the harder you end up working.
If I fall at 300 million, are we mad?
Boo-hoo,
Everyone's mad at me, but I'm not mad.
But I'm not mad. Like shoot for the moon, land on the stars. I think that makes such a huge difference. So you're building the wealth. You are definitely claiming billion-dollar acquisitions.
Yes.
How does it look in terms of how you're setting things up for your children? Like what do you envision wealth looking like for them when they're 20 and 30 and you know?
It's crazy because, you know, my kids are in private school.
Yes.
I drive a very nice car. I have a G-Wagon, so I roll up to their school and the kids are driving Teslas and Lexuses and all these things. And I'm like,
damn.
And we made our twins share a Honda Accord when they first got, you know, so I think there's a balance of what, you know, I have privileged children. They are getting a privileged education, how we're parenting them, and then what we actually leave them. It's a hard battle. I'm making my kids work for it. So all of them have invested part of their college fund in one of my real estate projects, which means they had to run a full due diligence, which means that the only way they get to access any of that capital when it flips is if they have been staying active on the project and I don't have to remind them. All of them take a business trip with me once a year. Different things. It's just skill sets that I want them to have because I know the things that I am leaving them, I want them to be able to choose to run if they want to. So my goal there is to leave them each a cluster of franchises. And then and then I will have a third party manage my investment portfolio and divvy that out.
Wow.
How they
That's so powerful because I think a lot of us don't realize, a lot of entrepreneurs may not realize that the moves we make now really determine what life looks like in 20 years.
Oh, yes.
I mean, you know, it's directly connected what it looks like for our kids. And we have this amazing privilege to make certain choices and make certain decisions that really can set our children up for life.
For life.
Like for life, not just a few years, but like forever. And I know that's so different because a lot of us weren't born into wealth, right? Majority of us, at all. Okay. And so to be able to change that narrative and change that pattern and actually become a wealth builder, I think is super, super dope. So
it is.
My last question for you would be, if you were talking to your, 20 years ago self, right? You're at the beginning of this business, maybe on that hard day, going back to that manifestation, what are some pieces of advice you would give yourself? What do you think that she needed to hear?
Oh gosh, 20-year-old me. I think one of the hardest things, or what felt really cold, is that on this journey, sometimes you have to leave people behind. Right? You can't drag anyone. They have to run their own race, and they should be running at, not the same speed, but a very fast pace. And that might be breaking your own heart. That might be friendships that you just don't have anything in common with, them anymore. Right. And so in my divorce, this is my second marriage, and divorces or friendships that have gone bad, I sit there and I'm like, oh my gosh. And am I a horrible person? Right. And I don't wish any ill on these people.
Of course.
Right. But it's a necessary step. And I think not being so hard on myself for having to move on and move up.
We have to give ourselves permission to grow.
Yes, and that's part of it.
That's a huge part of it. And I think that that's true. You know, I read a quote the other day that said, if you want to know who's meant to really stay in your life, start improving, start changing, start having different habits, right? Start working out, start working on your business, start going to bed earlier, you know, whatever it is. And you'll see who continues to stay by your side and who starts to say like, oh, you've changed. Or, you know, they naturally fall away. So I think that's really good to really give yourself permission to realize that elevation does require some separation. And it's not a guilt thing. You still wish that person the best, but you've got to go where you gotta go.
I've got to go.
You know, I got places to be, honey.
Yes.
So please tell our audience how they can connect with you, how they can support Mom Juice.
Yes, absolutely. So you can find me on all socials as Macie Mincey. And then, of course, Mom Juice Wine. We have an active fundraising campaign right now for all of the moms that are interested. It's something to diversify your portfolio, and you don't have to be an accredited investor. So really exciting. I know that you'll dive into that more probably with our CEO, Kristen. But check us out and drink some wine, ladies.
Drink some wine. Listen, y'all deserve it. So I want you guys to stay tuned for part 2 of this episode. We are going to be interviewing the other co-founder of Mom Juice to talk about the business side and her own journey in entrepreneurship and wealth building. So thank you guys for listening to another episode of Get Ellievated, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Yay.
So if you want to be on the next episode of Get Ellievated, or if you want to be in touch with me and the team, then you can email podcast@getelevated.com or find me on Instagram and email me at hello@ellietalksmoney.com. Either way, we cannot wait to have you on the show and have you apply to be a guest for a part of the live business coaching. I'll see you guys soon.